Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining me. I think you are aware, Senator Jean Shaheen, in a statement, expressed concern about situation in Afghanistan, and she called on expansion of refugee program for women to protect vulnerable women in Afghanistan. Are you sharing the same concern?
Absolutely. We have been working around the clock to do everything we can to help our sisters in Afghanistan. You mentioned Senator Shaheen. She has been a real leader on this issue, and she has asked in the last 24 hours that the special humanitarian parole be available, which would allow with a sponsor to come to the United States. And she's particularly focused on women human rights defenders, women civil society leaders, that they be able to come with sponsors that we're trying to get for the women so that they can relocate at least for a year and then go through our regular system. But there's no time for that now. So this special humanitarian emergency parole is critically important.
Taliban retaking the control of Afghanistan after 20 years, and U.S. once saved these Afghans and liberated them from Taliban leadership. As you mentioned, so how U.S. can ensure the safety of these women until they're taken out or they're going somewhere for asylum, which all the doors are closed to them?
You know, that's the big question, and that's the one we have to act on immediately. I think from our perspective, working really closely with women in Afghanistan, the biggest priority is the evacuation. First, to make sure the airport is secure, but now I understand that entry to the airport is a big problem, and we have to ensure that the entry to the airport can make it possible for the women to leave, whether it's on military planes or whether it's on chartered flights. And many of us are arranging chartered flights so that they are able to go to any number of countries now that are offering even temporary stays until their situation can be regularized and they can be in safety. The critical issue for all of us now is safety, to ensure the evacuation, to ensure that it happens in a very timely way, and then to work with the women once they hit the ground. In addition, there is a critical need, as you know well, and our viewers in Afghanistan know, for humanitarian assistance on the ground in Afghanistan, for food, for shelter, for the critical needs to live from day to day. And we need to work with the international community to ensure that humanitarian assistance can get into Afghanistan. And then in the longer term, assistance for resettlement. But right now, it's evacuations for those who are in great jeopardy, in harm's way, threatened, who need to leave, and critical humanitarian assistance on the ground for the needy people who are pouring into Kabul.
Ambassador Greenfield at UN Security Council also stressed on opening a humanitarian corridor for bringing the aid, which is stuck at the border taken by the Taliban. How likely it is the Taliban will do so or allow or help, at least, as you say, which is the immediate need of humanitarian assistance for Afghans?
Well, you know, I have no special knowledge about what the Taliban think and what they're planning, but I think that Ambassador Greenfield is absolutely right, that we need to ensure that this humanitarian assistance gets in, and that means the international community, the United Nations, the United States, all the other nations need to be part of this arrangement with the Taliban to ensure that the humanitarian aid gets in, because it's going to compound an already terrible situation if people don't have food and aren't safe and don't have the necessities that they need.
Taliban spokesperson in a tweet says that they will allow diplomats and also humanitarian workers. And also today was a piece of news also on UNICEF that Taliban told them that they will allow girls education. What's your expectation that is going to happen? Do you believe the Taliban?
Well, I don't believe the Taliban. I think the Taliban is very sophisticated in terms of its public relations. They have gotten the knack of how to do that well, how to portray themselves in that vein. It would be great to believe that there could be change, but the Taliban has always insisted on establishing an Islamic emirate. We know what that means in terms of their radical interpretation of Islam, shared by no predominantly Muslim country, that says girls don't belong in school. And if the younger girls are in school, once they reach a certain age, the only thing open to them are the madrasas and the rote learning. We should look at and are looking at what's already happening in Afghanistan. Women are told they can't leave their homes, they can't leave without a guardian. There are reports of kidnapping girls, sex slavery, into sex slavery. There are reports in Kabul of going house to house to ascertain who is there. There is looting of organizations in terms of their equipment and their files, etc. So what we're seeing and what we know from the past is very, very troubling. And you can have a great public relations campaign, but that campaign has to be based on the truth and on the reality. And how do you match all of these things that we know are happening with that rhetoric?
Afghans outside Afghanistan, including US and Europe and all around the world, share concerns of Afghanistan being abandoned, and they are somehow critics of the US policies. At the same time, they're calling for hashtag sanction Pakistan. How do you see the role of Pakistan in maintaining the situation, at least cooperating with US on this in helping Afghans or saving lives?
Well, Pakistan, as you know very well, has been difficult over the years, and the Taliban in Pakistan have a strong relationship with the Taliban in Afghanistan. At one point in the last couple days, the border was closed. I don't know if it's open now, but Pakistan could play a really positive role if it wanted to. And in this moment of great urgency, they really should step up to the plate and be more responsible.
Yeah, sure. And just last question. Are you in touch with Afghan women activists, and what are their fears, what they're telling you, and do you share their concerns?
I'm in very close touch with them, many of them, obviously a small fraction comparatively, but they are frightened. They are fearful. Many of them lived through what happened more than 20 years ago under the previous Taliban rule. And I worry deeply about the young people because they never knew the Civil War. They never knew what happened 20 plus years ago. As you know so well, Zheela, they have been educated, they have great aspirations, they are competent, they could be building Afghanistan's future. That was their plan. They love their country. And I feel for them deeply, given what's happened. And I think it is the responsibility of all of us, whether we're Americans or we're members of any other country right now, to do what we can to help the people of Afghanistan who find themselves in these dire straits, especially the women, of course, who have sacrificed so much, and suffered so much that they, for those who can leave, who want to leave, that we are able to get them out safely, and to the young people who have such hopes for the future.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time. And this, let me just stop this recording.